Hey, everybody, welcome to Black Genealogy Corner, the podcast that looks into the rich heritage of Black genealogy. I'm your host, Philip, and together we embark on an extraordinary journey of discovery, exploration, and resilience. So let's get started. So I started this podcast because I felt that we really needed more outlets for Black family researchers to tell stories about their families and how they found their information. And so I feel like there's a need also to get younger people involved and start their family research or take over for the person who is currently doing it. And so in this podcast series, we're going to share the hidden stories, the forgotten narratives, and the suppressed histories of Black families through captivating interviews, expert insights, storytelling. We tell the stories that connect us to our ancestors and unveil the profound impact that their lives have on our own. We'll also share the tools and the resources available to help us trace our roots, including DNA testing, archival research, oral traditions, and we'll get a chance to, tap into the wisdom of the seasoned genealogists. So my goal is to equip you with the knowledge and the inspiration to embark on your own journey, whether you're just beginning or you're a seasoned researcher. As you may or may not have realized, this is my very first episode of the podcast, and I'm so excited to get started. So, the very first guest I have for my podcast on this episode will be, there really won't be a guest quite yet, but this one will be about me. And so I just thought it would be a real good way to start the podcast off by telling you my story. All right, so let's just get into it. So my wife Trisha is the founder and creator of Journey Through the Generations. She has been researching her family for something like 12 years or so. And so over the years, I've never really had a desire to, do my own family research, but I've really always supported her journey and what she was doing. Usually, what I would do is help her with her technology needs, help set up her blog, start the podcast, doing the things like that on the technology side. That's how I really helped her the most. So while I haven't been a real active participant in actual research, I just really didn't want to be involved in my own. And it's not that I really didn't care. It's just I didn't have an interest in it. I was really more than okay just knowing the family that have always known in the family. And I was okay with that. Well, came 2019, my outlook changed a little bit. And you're probably thinking, what changed your mind? Well, I'll tell you. I used to be real adamant about not doing this, but I've done a little bit of a 180, and I can pinpoint to several things that really gave me the inspiration to begin researching my own family. So I attended my first genealogy conference in October of 2018. It was in Philadelphia, and it was the AUX conference. Now, AUX is the acronym for Afro American Historical and Genealogical Society. You should really check them out. Go to the website and become a member. There's a lot of good people in part of the organization. They have a lot of local chapters, so you could be involved in that organization. It's really worth it. So Trisha was attending the conference, and I found out that the organization needed some help recording videos and with their social media during the conference. So since that's kind of in my wheelhouse, and I was going to be with Trisha anyway, I decided to volunteer to help them do those things during their conference. And as you can imagine, while I was there, I heard a lot of stories from people, from the instructors about their story, about their journey, what they found. And it kind of got me thinking a little bit about doing it, but I really didn't take any steps to do anything about it. So then in February 2019, I attended my very first Roots Tech conference. And for you that may not know, Roots Tech is the largest genealogy conference in the world. I really think you should attend. I personally recommend that you go to the in-person conference. It's held in Salt Lake City. It's usually around the end of February, early March. And you just really get a chance to feel. It's just something different about being there. Um, the feeling that you get. Everybody's there for one common purpose, and so it's really exciting to be there. So I know that not everyone can go. I understand that, and that's no big deal. The great thing is that during COVID, Roots Tech started doing a virtual conference like everybody else did. But the fantastic thing about it is that they're continuing to do the virtual conference every year, even while it's in person. So even if you can't get there, you can't go, you can still attend the conference virtually. So that's awesome. So my intention on going to Roots Tech was twofold. Number one, I wanted to learn how to get better at creating blogs and creating a podcast and doing content around genealogy. And I was really excited about going to do that. But the second reason I also went was that the OGS group wanted me to do their videos and social media during the Roots Tech conference for them. And so I didn't have a problem with that. I was going to be there anyway. And so I did both of those things. But the sharing of knowledge and support by the instructors of each class, the staff of Roots Tech, the volunteers, the attendees, everybody was just incredible. I met so many great people, and they just gave kind and encouraging words. And listening to all their stories and everything, it just really, got me going. And so on the flight back home, on the plane, I leaned over to Trisha and I said, I think I'm going to start researching my family. And she was shocked. She was really shocked to hear me say that, as I just never wanted to do that before. But while she was shocked, she was really excited about me getting started on it, me being able to begin learning all about my family, and she wanted to, really get in there and help me. But I kind of felt like I wanted to do it on my own, and so I told her, I was like, "Hey, I know this is your cup of tea, is what you do, but I kind of want to, go through this journey and, figure it out by myself and learn. And then I'll just come to you when I have questions or need help." And she was great doing that. So, I mean, I think it's safe to say that at that point, I had officially been bitten by the genealogy bug, and it was pretty exciting. So in February of that year, my father was told that he had a younger brother that was put up for adoption. And so my dad is quite a bit older than him and was an adult and out of the house. And no one ever told him anything about this person being born and put up for adoption. And so we were, really just kind of blown away by this news. But the great thing about it was a lot of the family members got together, met with him, and we were able to meet him and his family over dinner about a month later after we found out about him. So that was exciting. I'm glad that a lot of the family members could come together and meet him. So meeting this new family member kind of got me wondering about, other family members or ancestors that I didn't know. Who are they and where are they from? What do they do? How many kids did they have? There was just so many things, that was going through my mind. I felt like, there's a lot of people out there that I don't know about. And so, as I was going through, I was really being inspired, and probably my biggest inspiration for me to really get started on this, it was really Trisha. I mean, she knows that, when I wasn't interested in this, didn't want anything to do with it, she never tried to push it on me. She never tried to just, tell me about it and keep bothering me about it and everything. And that was cool that she just never, she understood, she knew I just didn't want to do it, and she never did. But when I, was ready to do it, she was excited and ready to help. And that was awesome too. And so I know that, going through the family research, it's not always easy. And I know it can be, big time frustrating. But I saw the joy that, she had when she found useful information, when she found photos and documents, and the way she just celebrated every accomplishment, everything she found. I just really wanted to feel, that same joy as I researched my family too. And so at that point, it was really, about time for me to just start doing the actual research, to start looking for those names and those dates, the documents, just start putting those names in empty spaces. And so the first thing I did was contact my brother. My brother had done some, real casual research on the family. It didn't go deep, but he had found a few things on both our sides of the family. Well, Trisha also helped him with a couple of things, and so they both gave me all the information that they had, and I took all that information, and I was able to build my very first family tree. So while I was looking at this tree, you could easily see that there was a chunk of missing information on my dad's side of the family, and so it just made sense to me that that was the place to start first. So after talking with my dad, we found out, or he told me that his dad had left Arkansas, and it was when my dad was, a baby. He was very little. He left, and he never came back. He never reached out to my dad and never wanted to have anything to do with my dad. So, that happened a long time ago. It's in the 40s. So it is what it is. There's nothing you can do about that. But we still knew very, very little about him. And so I decided to go ahead and get started with him. And so the very first place I started was on familysearch.org. Now, I started with just a simple search of my grandfather's name. So, Family Search, if you didn't know about Family Search, it's a resource where you can search, millions of records online. The records are held by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, but they provide it free to everyone, regardless of your race, your culture, your tradition, your religious affiliation. They don't care. They just offer up all that information to everyone for free. They don't try to push their church on you, and that's awesome. And so don't feel like it's something that you have to be a member of the church or do whatever like that. You don't. It's all free to everyone. And so all you have to do is just go to familysearch.org to get started. And I think you'll, find some good information about your family there. So hopefully in one episode coming up, I'll have someone from Family Search here on the podcast, and we'll talk about them a little bit more. So as I started looking through the research on Family Search, I found, to my delight, that someone had already done a lot of research for me. And they saved the information on the website, and it's public information there. So as I was reading through, I was just, I was shocked by all the information that I was able to find, and I didn't do anything but put his name in. And so, in one night of research, I had found information about my grandfather, my great grandfather, and my great grandmother. Crazy. I mean, I just can't believe that I found that all in one night. And I almost woke up Trisha that night. She was asleep. But I decided not to. I was really excited and I wanted to tell her, but I got a chance to tell her the next day and she was crazy excited for me. So that was pretty awesome. But the person that had already done the research, he also included, source documents. And so I found out some, interesting facts about my great grandfather. I found out that his name is Dr. Ralph Percy Cummings. He was born in 1882 in what was then known as British Guyana. Obviously, it was under British rule, but it is no longer under British rule, and its name is Guyana now, just simply Guyana. He immigrated to the United States in 1907, and then just through a just simple Google search, I found a newspaper article about him that documented how he made his way to Nashville, Tennessee. He attended Meharry College in 1914. It's currently still in active school. He then traveled west to Memphis. He spent a little time in Memphis, and then he made his way to Central Arkansas in 1919, where he opened up a medical practice, and lived out the rest of his days as a well respected physician in Central Arkansas, helping a lot of the Black citizens in the Central Arkansas area, the ones who needed medical help. So it was pretty cool to see that. So, understand it is not lost on me at all that I got lucky finding this information and finding it so easily. And it's definitely not that easy for most folks to find. So I realized that. And so, that's not lost on me at all. And I understand that. So once I really got to a stopping point in this information, my interest immediately went to where my great grandfather was born. And so I didn't know where British Guyana was. So or Guyana. So I searched Google Maps and I found it. And so I was already starting to think about going there. Like, when could I go? Who could I talk to? And what could I find? And so I zoomed in on Google Maps to just get a closer look at what the area was like, look at some street views, see what the buildings were like, what kind of restaurants and houses and those kinds of things. But as I was zoomed in, I saw that a small part of section of town was called Cummingsburg. Wow. I was blown away to see that there very well may be a section of town with my family's name. I mean, I was just, blown away, so excited. So the best part about this is that, after I found all this information, I got a chance to go and visit with my dad and share, all of this information with him. I found out all about his biological father, and I found out about his great grandfather or his grandfather. And so I was able to share all of that information with him. And, he was glad to see it. I mean, he wasn't mad about the situation or anything like that. He was glad to see it. It was nothing that he could do about it. He was a child. He had no idea. And so he was happy to see it. And I was happy to have been able to share it with him. So that was pretty awesome. So I continued doing research. And so while I was doing my research, I took a DNA test with Ancestry, mainly to see where I was from. And so I received the results back. And along with telling me where I was from, it also listed my potential DNA matches. And so one of them was listed as a very close match. And Ancestry suggested that that person may be my uncle. And so I started looking at that name pretty closely. And the problem was it didn't have an actual name on the profile. It was just like a username or a nickname. And so I sent him a message through the Ancestry website. He replied back And we set up a time to talk on the phone. And it turns out that this guy is my dad's brother. And he's my uncle, right? And so I mean, it's just crazy that all this stuff is happening. And we're finding all of this new family, and we didn't know about each other. And my uncle was, just flabbergasted. He was so excited about meeting me and knowing that we were there, and that he had, family still in Little Rock, but he was, upset that his dad never told him about it, and so there was, there's nothing you can do about it, but yeah, he was really glad to meet and talk to me, and so it was good to meet him. But during our conversation, he did give me the phone number of my cousin who lives in Little Rock. Her name was Brenda, and she was the first cousin that I got a chance to meet on that side of the family. And I did meet her daughter, and I met her granddaughter. And it's so funny, her granddaughter went to school not too far from me, and so when she graduated from college, they came here, and I got a chance to meet them during that. So that was exciting. So yeah. So later on in 2019, I went back to my dad and to visit him again, and I got a chance to set up a FaceTime call with him and his brother, so that they could meet. My new uncle, lives in California, and my dad is here in Arkansas, and so they got a chance to talk and to meet, albeit through FaceTime. And but technology is awesome. I believe wholeheartedly that it can help you in your research. Because without FaceTime, I would have never been able to get the both of them together to meet in person. And so, for them to be able to meet and at least see each other's face through the computer screen, it was awesome to see. So, very, very, very excited about that one. So since then to the present, I've been able to uncover, a good amount of information that's led me to, another side of the family that I never knew about. And so in July 2022, which was just last year, I attended the family reunion in Charleston, South Carolina. So let me tell y'all about this. I was so nervous about going to this family reunion because um, the only other people that I knew there was Brenda, her daughter, and her granddaughter, and otherwise I didn't know anyone, and no one knew me. So when I got to the meet and greet on that Friday night, I kind of sat off to the side, away from everyone, got me something to eat and something to drink, which is not unusual for me. I'm kind of like that in situations with people I don't know. I tend to just kind of, lay back and just kind of see who people are, what they're doing, what they're saying, that kind of thing, until I get, comfortable and figure out what's going on. And so Brenda saw that, and she came and got me and took me around and introduced me to a lot of the family members, and it was so exciting. And after that, I felt, more comfortable as we went along uh, through the weekend. So obviously, everyone there knew each other, but no one knew me. But they made sure that I felt included. That and Trisha went with me, and she felt included and a part of the family, just like a family should. And that was awesome to see. So I'm excited, looking forward to going to the next family reunion in 2024 to see them again and hopefully meet more family. So also, pretty soon, I will be traveling out to California to meet my uncle in person. And so hopefully that will happen. And then hopefully a trip out to Guyana will be happening also in the near future. So when Roots Tech 2023 came around, it was the very first conference they had since COVID, the first one they had in person since COVID. So Trisha and I went, and while we were there, I met the Family Tree DNA Test organization, and I had already taken a Family Tree DNA test with them. And so while I was there, I upgraded to their Y-DNA test. And so what their Y-DNA test is that it helps trace your paternal line, and it provides you additional relatives that matches you. And that's because Y-DNA, it's passed down from father to son. And so those matches are all descendants of a common ancestor on your paternal side. And so what happened when my test results came back, I really wasn't shocked. It wasn't shocking what I saw, but it did help add another piece of information that I could try and verify, some of the thoughts that I had over the past 4 years of research. And so my ancestry test showed that I had a pretty good percentage of European DNA. Not surprised. So while I was doing some research on Guyana, I read that there was a Scottish person that owned land in Guyana. It was to farm, and he often made trips to Guyana from Scotland. And his last name was Cumming. So it was the same as mine, but it was spelled different. And that's also not surprising. That happened a lot over the years. People changed the spelling of their names. So that wasn't shocking to me. But it was another piece of information that came that was kind of, pointing to this person being an ancestor of mine. But as I continued to read the book, it also noted that he had a family in both locations. He had a family in Scotland and he had a family in Guyana. And so it would seem to reason, since that's where my, great grandfather is from, when I was born, it seems to reason that this guy very well could be my ancestor. But I still don't have any evidence to conclude that really. And so right now it's still just kind of probably is, but we'll see. And so as I looked at the Y-DNA test results, it showed that I had matches from with people that are from Scotland. So so everything is connecting, to this. And so yeah, it's just crazy that all this stuff is just, building and building and building. And it's getting close to being ready for me to tell its full true story. And that's really cool. And so the cool thing about it is the very next day after I got my results back, of course, the service, it notifies all the people who you match with. And so that next day, I got an email from some of the matches from the family who wanted to work with me on our family research. And apparently, they're really excited about talking with me because I'm a little bit of a missing part that they're looking for. So they invited me to be a part of the family project group on Family Tree DNA. And so I really look forward to, working with them. And so further on in my research, I've also found that I have ancestors who fought in the American Revolution, who are part of the Daughters of the American Revolution and things like that. So I still have tons of information to find. I have ton of information to verify, but my hope is to continue working on this, learning more about resources and information that I can find, and I eventually hope to take a trip out to Scotland to meet the family out there. So that would be really exciting. So, I mean, what a journey this has turned out to be, y'all. I mean, I've learned so much about my family. And, although I still have a ways to go, I'm excited about what I know so far. Here's a genealogy tip for you. The first step when you decide to start researching your family, the very first thing you should do, in my opinion, is go and talk to your oldest living relatives. Start talking to them about stories. Make sure you record names, dates, you get documents, photos. Everyone has a computer in their pocket or in their purse, and it's your phone. Your phone can do recording, it can do video recording, it can do audio recording. It has those options. And so use that to record these chats that you have with your oldest living relatives. Document that information and tell your story. I understand. I'm just now telling mine in a public way. And so, I got to do better about telling my story as well. But tell your story, share it with your other family members, and let them know about their family. So I think we've come to the end of my very first episode of the podcast. What a great way to start. I don't tell my story that often. So it felt really good to talk about it. And so I hope that it inspires someone to just take action on researching their family. Whether you take a DNA test, you do the Y-DNA test, go to a family reunion, start pulling photos, whatever it is, just get started. Tell your story. I hope you enjoyed listening to my story. And I hope you plan on coming back for the next episode where I will have an actual guest that will be here. And so it's sure to be a good one. Just be sure to subscribe to the podcast and you'll never miss an episode. You can get it wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. I'm also on YouTube and on Instagram. So check me out over there. And while you're at it, check out the podcast that my wife and I do together. It's a journey through the generations. All of the details for this will be down in the description box of this episode. All right, guys. I'll see you next time on the corner. Peace.